up, guys? It's Taylor with Manual Builders here for part one of the hairdo theory. And this is just a little series that we're doing, help you guys enhance your mindset, keep a growth mindset in this season. And today, I couldn't think of anybody better for part one than a really good friend of mine, Nick Suire. Nick, thanks for coming on with us.
Sure, man. No problem.
Yeah, so Nick has a background in business. Him and I have been friends for, almost 10 years now. We've known each other. And we've been through, marriages and kids and everything together. So, Nick, give a little background or history for you, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, so I'm from Crowley, Louisiana originally. I went to UL, and I've been living in Lafayette for about 15 years now. Got a business degree from the University of Louisiana Lafayette in 2010. And then I went on to pursue a master's degree in pastoral counseling. So I attended seminary at Liberty University in Virginia while I was a full-time pastor at Our Savior's Church, a local church in Lafayette. Worked with kids and families and led multiple ministries at the Broussard campus of Our Savior's Church. And now I'm in the field of business, and I'm enjoying it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, I'm super excited to have you on. Like I said, Nick and I have known each other for a long time. So, Nick's just going to give some insight. I know right now the market is probably one of the biggest questions. It seems like every time you turn on the news, it's like nothing but red downturn arrows. So, what's your thought on that?
Well, I do have a couple thoughts on that, but the bottom line is that there are certain things that drive the market down. And this particular case this year was caused by the coronavirus. So obviously with businesses shutting down and almost, 2/3 of the population, and then you go worldwide, people are not working, business is not happening. So before businesses even started shutting down, the market is driven by behaviors, and it is driven by people buying and selling stocks of individual companies. So if you turn on CNBC, you'll see a ticker at the bottom that says the Dow Jones Industrial or the S&P 500. Those are basically what we call indices, or there's a way to measure the companies that are in the United States economy. So the Dow Jones Industrial, 30 of the biggest companies in America. The S&P 500 tracks the 500 biggest companies in America. So if you take the Dow Jones Industrial average, it tracks the 30 of the largest companies in America. So when people sell stocks of those companies, the value of those companies decreases. And therefore, when individuals like me and you and the people watching this podcast, we have shares in those companies as well, or there's a mutual fund that we own that has hundreds of stocks inside the mutual fund, the value of those funds go down as well. So the bottom line is, Taylor, it's really simple. The value of those funds and companies has decreased because a large number of investors sold off. We call it a sell-off. And basically it was one of the most drastic sell-offs in the history of the market. So in March, the market went down a good bit. And when we say the market, we're talking about the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And so that decreased by a large percentage in May. And so year to date in March, the lowest number we got to was negative 36%. So the Dow was up about 28,000. And if you or anyone else would own 100% of stocks in your portfolio, then that person would have saw a number similar to that, either close to or around that number. That person's value of their portfolio would be down 36%. But if you diversify your portfolio and own things like bonds that are safer, then you would see a number that is smaller than that. In other words, you'd be beating the market, but you'd be in something that's safer. But when we talk about the market going down, that's what happened in March. And Taylor, what most people don't know is that even though the market was down significantly in March, April of 2020 was the single best month in the market's history since 1987.
Wow.
So even though the news is telling you everything is awful, we believe, you know, I believe that the market has kind of priced in a recession, if you will. So in other words, the
Yeah.
market was ahead of the economy. People were, oh my goodness, the worst is the worst. This is the worst. Is the worst. Is the worst. So we're going to sell, 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 sell. And so that's what happened in March. And then what you saw was a slight return in April. And April ended up being one of the best months in 23 years.
Wow. Yeah. Some really good insight. I think ultimately, you know, those numbers affect everybody in the country, but they affect everybody in the country a little differently. Obviously, economics here get driven by a few different things, but the main thing that what you said is that no matter what news platform it seems like you choose to watch, there are still some facts that we can follow, you know, to see those real numbers and to see what direction we're going. So I think the big question right now that, you know, just from talking to a few people, what comes first in the aspect of investing, you know? So, you know, you and I sat down a few months ago, we talked about the state of our economy and what we should do next. You know, obviously people want to come directly to you and get some specific insight for themselves. We can, but, you know, do I invest right now? Do I save right now? Do I take all of my money out of the bank and put it in my mattress? I mean, where do you go from here?
That's a great question. You know, for me and my family personally, luckily, my wife and I, we still have a job. So we're very fortunate. And, you know, economics are different than what's going on in the market. Like I said, when you talk about the market and what we own in, say, your portfolio or what I own in my portfolio towards retirement or towards the goal of retirement, it's different because one is jobs and one is people, jobs, and the things that drive the market. And the other thing is the market. So I think before you even think about investing, you have to make sure that economically your family is taken care of first. That means if you have a job, that's great. You're in a great position. You need to take care of four walls first. That's your house. And then you need to take care of some important things. That's food, clothing, and transportation. So you can get to your job. So you want to make sure that you have a place to live, food to eat, clothes to put on your back for you and your family, and transportation. So before you even think about investing, personally, I want to make sure that I got 6 months of living expenses saved up in the bank. And that's going to, because look, nobody saw this coming. Nobody could have called this. And that's the thing that makes the market, you don't time the market will time you if you try to time the market, and it'll tune you up, and before you know it, you'll be down 36%. So that's why it's always good to make sure you have a good balance in your savings account. Make sure you're prepared for scenarios like this. And look, the bottom line, Taylor, is that each person's situation might be different. You know, I'm fortunate. My wife is fortunate. We both have our jobs. I mean, thank God for that. I've talked to a lot of people in the area that have lost their jobs. I mean, you think about it, not only are we dealing with the coronavirus, but we also have an oil war going on. And so even if the virus wasn't happening right now, just what's going on in the energy industry with oil prices, that would be enough to cause the market to go down. And so people are out there and they're losing their jobs. And so the first thing you want to do, and like I said, the first thing you want to do is make sure you take care of savings. But I also want to reiterate that each person's situation is different. And that's why you need to talk to a professional to make sure that you have a plan in place. It's not about timing the market and making a quick buck. It's about having a plan. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah. I mean, age, job, stage of life. I mean, everything could kind of affect somebody's personal finances in a different way. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to put your personal contact information down at the bottom of the screen, just so that if people wanted to reach out to you, dig a little deeper in this, we can. But, you know, just as we kind of wrap up, I know for sure your wife is in healthcare, so this is something that kind of hits close to home to you, both on the financial side for yourself and just the well-being of your family. So in that state of mind, how do you not go into a panic right now? I mean, looking at the market the way that it is and being that close to healthcare, how do you sustain a healthy mindset right now?
Tara, that's a great question. And again, I think it goes back to making sure that you have a plan in place. Failure to prepare is preparing to fail. And
That's good.
A lot of the problem that we have in our society is that we live above our means. In other words, I make X amount of money, but we have a mortgage and a car and a boat and this and a hunting camp and this, and we're paying this when we only make this. Well, we're putting it all we're financing it, right?
Right.
So that's one mistake that I've seen it catch people. I'm not saying that that's wrong inherently, but as for me and my family, we try to avoid debt as much as possible, because debt is I'm giving my money to somebody else. And when your money's in somebody else's hands, and stuff like this happens, it comes up, it can cause tension. And so that's one way you can avoid that. And again, the bottom line is, if you have a plan in place and okay, I've got this here just in case this happens. I've got 6 months living expenses here. I've got a life insurance plan for my family in case something happens to me. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And this could have nothing to do with the coronavirus. So it's all about finding out what's out there. And that's why it's important for anybody listening to this to go and seek out professional help in the finance industry. Talk to a professional and talk to someone that you trust, someone that's going to teach you, not just run over you and tell you what you should be doing. Someone that's going to listen to you, listen to what's most important to you, and what your most important goals are, and then come up with a plan to reach those goals. And the more you do that, the better you're going to feel. And then one day, it's not like this thing where you go, okay, now we feel good and we got it. It's little by little. The more you do that, then when something like this happens, you're going to go, should we be freaking out right now? No, we shouldn't. We're good. We have a plan. We've talked about this. We know what to do, and we're going to do it.
That's really good, man. And to be honest, I know a lot about building houses. I don't know a lot about everything that you've just talked about. So, a lot of people might be that way. And that's why I get experts like yourself to come on and speak a little about that. So thanks again for coming on here. Like I said, I'm going to put Nick's information down at the bottom. You can reach out to him if you guys want a specific insight into finances or into the business world, and can speak to that. So reach out to him, reach out to myself. If you guys have any specific questions that you need answered, put in the comments section. I'll get them over to Nick, and we'll do whatever we can to get those answered. So again, Nick, thanks for coming on this week. I really appreciate it, and that was probably the best way I could think to kick this thing off.
Thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it. And listen, speaking of professionals, he just said it. Interest rates are at 0% right now. So if you want to build a home, don't go try to do this thing by yourself. Talk to this guy. Let him help you build a house.
You heard it from the business professional himself. So,
because I couldn't do it. I'd have to talk to him.
Well, all right, guys.
When I build that home one day, I'm becoming you.
Well, good. We will see you next week, guys. We're gonna have Tyler Boudreaux on. He is gonna be life coach, kind of speaking to the mentality piece of this. And Nick and I both know Tyler very well. So that's just another person that we can trust to kind of help us in this growth mindset, to help us moving forward in this season, and to prepare ourselves for the destination that we want to be whenever this thing gets back to either normal or normal, whatever that may be. So thanks again, and we'll see you guys next week.